Oh, right. No, sorry, I was on the capital program, so I'll just quickly zap back to page 24. Halswell, Hornby, Riccarton Community Board, Mike Mora.
Afternoon, Leanne and councillors, and just better. Like to introduce. Sorry,
that's better. You didn't call me Madam Mayor for once.
You said it, not me.
No, thank you. Much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realise it was a problem, but anyway, it'll never happen again.
Excellent.
Just like to introduce my deputy, Helen Broughton, and Ross McFarland. So we've got somebody from each of our 3 wards at the table. I won't go too much into the preamble other than to say, of course, that post-earthquake, the southwest area of Christchurch is increasing rapidly with expansion and development, and it was always planned under the UDS in the southwest area plan that it was going to be an area for growth. And of course that's been shunted at a rapid rate of knots. So we're very, very busy in our ward, but and growing. One of the things when our board met at this term is we identified the following things as our main priorities: to protect and maintain a high quality potable untreated water supply, and the 5th point there is compliance and monitoring of consents, particularly associated with quarrying and activities and its effects. So those 2 sort of things go really, really hand in hand. We want to protect our water into the future, and we've got to be very, very careful about what's happening to the west of our city with quarries, and particularly what goes into those holes in the ground, those moon craters, once the quarrying activity's finished. So that moves on then to the next matter that we really want to touch on, and that's the board cannot stress enough the importance of ensuring that the council has through this plan the capacity and the resources allocated so that high standards of monitoring and compliance of associated consents conditions are in place and capable of being maintained. So that's an issue. It's not only for our community board, but we do want to make sure that we have the tools in our toolbox as a city to monitor and have compliance with resource consents and their conditions. Otherwise, we're running around in reactive mode, trying to get things to be the way they should, and it takes a lot of time and energy. So we'd just like to emphasise that fact. The capital program expenditure, I won't read through all of those, but just to say that we're very, very happy to see those items in our budget. A lot of issues there to do with stormwater retention, detention, and drainage issues, and we cannot try and cut budgets in that area, because we do have basins in our wards in low-lying areas, and we do have the headwaters of the Heathcote and the Avon rivers as well in our ward, and the Halswell River as well. So everything flows from our part of the town. So we've got to make sure that we don't make things too uncomfortable for the people downstream from us either. The Cashmere and Worsley's Road, Hoonhay, that's a bordering issue with our dear friends from Cashmere Spraden, and of course and what's happened with the fires recently on the Port Hills is there's going to be a lot of logging over the next few months, and perhaps even up to a year, to actually clear a lot of that land away now and replant. And I'm really, really pleased to know that the replanting is going to be going ahead in that area very, very soon. The Nurses Memorial Chapel, we're really, really pleased to see that brought back forward again. Bradshaw Terrace is something that our community board have been on about for quite a long time, and we just, the curb and channel renewal, we did see it from overheads of our previous board's submission. But there's a lot of that old curb curb and channel in our ward as well that was getting past its use by date pre-earthquake, and it's still an issue. We're another thing that's popped up is the extension of Halswell Junction Road, which is going to be a key road linkage through the Waterloo Business Park and north and south. Has come up against a bit of a hiccup with the budget shortfall to actually progress that. The heavy vehicle numbers going through this area are really making a mess of the residential areas. And do we actually spend money on fixing up those residential streets that have been torn to pieces with the damage from the heavy vehicles, or do we actually go ahead and fix the budget shortfall so that we can get the Halswell Junction Road to be a smooth flow through the pound and out towards the airport? And moving on then, we really need to stress the provision of the 40 kilometres per hour speed zones outside schools, and really appreciate the fact that all the boards that have submitted so far are saying that that is a key thing. So we're just stressing that if we can find money in a budget, please put it into those school zones to improve the safety around our schools. Very important, and that's what the community are asking us for. And really, there's some road safety issues. There's a string of them in here. I don't need to go into any great detail, just to say that these are things that we're going to have to work on in the southwest of Christchurch. And pre-earthquake, we had the CRETS study that some of us may remember, Christchurch Wollaston Environments Transport Study. And I think it's really time that we reviewed that study now with the development that's happened in Wollaston and Selwyn District, and we really need to work together with NZTA and our neighbouring authorities to get a new transport study done so that we can all work from that. The other issues to do with rates, I think I'll leave to Helen and to Ross, and answer any questions from any of us. Helen, do you want to?
Yes, thank you. Look, we are aware that you have brought the residential rate down to 4.2. So I believe that's really good. And I think just going forward, we've tabled the cost on a $970 house, which I think is where the hurt is coming. So people at a higher level end. Sorry, 970,000. So I think that's where the rates are impacting, particularly on people who have fixed income. So I think you've done well to get it at 4.2. I think just going forward, if you can be very aware of those people on above medium level houses, because normally in the media it quotes the rate increase per year, and for a median level house it sounds fairly minor, but at those upper ends it's getting harder and harder for those on fixed incomes. So that's all I've got there, and Ross has something on rural rating.
The council will be fully aware of the number of submissions for the last annual plan with regarding the point called the remote rural rebate. This is a 25% rebate applied to true rural properties, and there is ongoing discontent in the ward because of the application, or the inequitable application of that rate. And I'll explain this. The reviews are being done ongoing by the staff, which is great to get that equitability across the whole city, but they started in the southwest area and they're slowly moving around the city, eventually getting to Banks Peninsula. Well, that effectively means that people who are on or not getting that rate in the southwest area are paying it 2 years ahead of other areas in the city. So it's that inequitable application of that rate that needs to be revisited. The whole, how would you say, mythology of the rate is very, very confusing. It's, I would call, 49 shades of grey. There is that many different views by staff on how to actually apply that rate. We've just gone through a full district plan review. I think it's time we go back towards the next 3-year long-term plan and really assess the basis of our capital valuation and the resultant application of that to our rates database. We know what's residential, we know what's rural, we know what's business. We have business rate, we have rural rate, we have residential rate. Where you live and the capital value of your property plus strategic or targeted rates make up your rate account. At the moment we have staff who visit properties and check whether they're truly rural. Is there horse grazing? Is there rural rating undertaken? If that property ever changes to another use, there is no mythology to get that changed through the rating system. Keep it simple: business, rural, residential. So that's where we need to look to for the next rate.
Any questions?
Questions?
Seeing we've got a little bit of time, I'd just like to just to point at the accessible recreation and support other boards as well, and having a close look at that to make sure that it's affordable and very affordable and accessible for all of the members of our community, but especially young people. So we just want to make sure that we spend a lot of money building facilities, community facilities for sport and recreation. We just want to make sure that they're available and accessible.
But I've got a question from Jimmy Chen.
Only one question. You suggest the 40 kilometer per hour school zone, the increase from the budget from 3 to 6 per year. But earlier, the Papalu Innes Community Board, they suggest the budget up to the 500K, probably it's a 10 school per year. So do you agree or not? But yours is a 6, but they prefer it's a 10, about
well,
10.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to agree with theirs. If we can get a bigger slice of the cherry into that safety throughout the city, I would certainly not be opposed to that, or our board, would we? Nodding.
Okay, thank you.
David?
I note under the subheading New Brighton saltwater pools, you're expressing a preference for the wider development aspects of this project to be considered by the council at the next long-term plan. Can you elaborate what you would may consider?
I was hoping nobody would ask
what the
us
wider development aspects are.
If you want me to. Yes. Look, I
do know the answer.
Yes.
We were just going to leave it,
yes,
actually, though.
we actually had quite a long debate about it. We had a range of views, and in the end we came down on just as a kind of trying to find a middle ground, that we would argue that it go forward in the long-term plan where it's better positioned. But I do know since how strongly people have been advocating for it. So I think we've just let this lie and we aren't pushing it. It was just getting a compromise from the people in the room at that time.
Some of the councillors were very much in favour of that.
Appreciate you asking that question and appreciate the answer that Helen's given you.
Yeah, I mean it's actually been quite a good process, because it has meant that people on the other parts of the city have actually responded extremely positively to the idea of investing more in New Brighton as that destination. So it's actually been a good process.
Yes.
We're very compassionate.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So David,
I'm sure there's a happy response to that around the table.
Yeah.
But look, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.